Hey, friend, Chris Vandeviver here from WhyLogicProRules.com, the website that helps you get the most you can out of Apple's Logic Pro 10. Today, we're going to talk about the difference between send levels and adjusting the fader on auxiliary channel strips. So imagine you have a drummer track, you're sending your drummer track to like a reverb or parallel compression, and which should you adjust? Should it be the send level? So this guy right here, should you adjust it on this end of things? Or should you leave this at 0 and adjust the fader on the actual auxiliary channel strip? Now, this question was from a reader named Ryan, and I just thought it was such a great question that deserved a video unto itself. So this was literally like a day ago, and I'm just putting this together for this week. His question in a nutshell was, hey, Chris, I've watched your tutorials, and I've seen you use parallel compression, reverb, whatever, and sometimes you adjust using the send level on the individual channel strips or the fader on the actual auxiliary channel strip. Why do you do this? Is there a difference? And I tried my best to explain via email, but he was like, but aren't they kind of the same? And that's when I realized that email and just words was not going to be enough to really illustrate what the difference is between these two different methods of adjusting levels going to your parallel effects. So we're going to walk through this today. Is it the same? Is it different? Let's see. So I have a drummer track here, and we can see that this drummer track has a send with bus 2 going to a reverb. Okay, cool. So let's duplicate this drummer track, and I'm going to bring the region down. So we've got 2 now, and they're both being sent to the same bus 2. Now, for the time being, I'm just going to turn off the reverb, everything related to that, and I'm going to open the compressor. Okay, so let's start by soloing drummer track 1 here. And I'm going to pick the Studio VCA, and I'm going to bring this all the way up, the ratio all the way up, attack and release all the way down. We're going to set some aggressive parallel compression. So it's going to be gnarly. We're going to leave the distortion set to soft, bring the makeup gain to about 10. Okay. And let's just take a listen, and I'll adjust the threshold. Okay, that's pretty gnarly. I definitely went over 0. So now let's adjust drummer track 2 here. Instead of sending it to the same bus, we're going to send it to bus 3. With the same 0 level, we'll bring the compressor over. Okay, at this point, we have 2 parallel compression channels, right? We'll just call this drummer 1 and drummer 2. Perfect. We're going to adjust the send level right here to negative 15. And then for drummer 2 here, we'll set this to negative 15. Right? So they're being brought down by the exact same level, negative 15, negative 15. Now let's hear the difference. I'm going to solo between SoCal 1, SoCal 2. So check it out. Okay, are you getting a sense of what's going on there? Maybe not. So let's now solo the individual parallel compression channels and take a listen. Now there's a pretty big difference there. So let me bring up the level of drummer 2. So it's more comparable to the first one. Let's check it out. So obviously drummer 1's parallel compression channel doesn't sound nearly as gnarly and as fussy as drummer 2. What's the deal here? What's going on? Well, let's open up both compressors here. And we're going to switch this to the graph mode. So we've got drummer 1, we got drummer 2. Just watch the graph as I play the 2. And in fact, I'm just going to set this to mute on the stereo output so we can watch both play. Are you seeing that? On drummer 1, we're not nearly compressing as much as drummer 2. Drummer 2 is getting slammed. And that's the difference. With our send level, when we are adjusting that, if we start from 0, we're starting from absolutely no signal being sent to the compressor. But as we drive up the signal, we're driving more and more into the compressor. And then, after a certain point, we're hitting the threshold, we're exceeding it, and we're smashing our track. Whereas when we adjust the fader level after the compression on our separate auxiliary channel strip, this is all happening after the compressor. So the compressor is slamming our drummer track, and then we're adjusting the level after the fact. And of course, we've included distortion. We've adjusted the makeup gain to drive more into the compressor circuit and the distortion. So we're really accentuating the nastiness of these drums getting slammed. So let's just examine that. Let's solo this drummer track. Let's bring the send level all the way down. Take a listen. Here we go. As you can see, drums are getting slammed. So now let's adjust the actual fader level here and just watch. So even though it seems like that parallel compression and distortion is getting quieter and less obvious, we're still smacking down on the drums intensely so. So this is the difference for me. Sometimes I decide that I want my parallel compression to be on full blast. I want it to slam down on my drums. I don't want my drum level to mess with the parallel compression that I've dialed in. So instead of adjusting the send level, I adjust the fader level after the fact because I want to make sure those drums are getting slammed and I just want to bring it underneath the drum kit subtly. Now for something like a delay or reverb, okay, maybe I don't want to excite the room of a reverb as much, We can see that with the send level set to 0, we're exciting this parallel compression intensely. But maybe with a reverb, I don't want that to happen. So let's actually turn off these parallel compression channels. Let's bring up Space Designer and just set it to the default because it's a pretty long reverb. Copy it over. We'll set this to -12. We'll set this guy to -12 and bring this back up. Okay, we'll just solo the reverb to take a listen and we'll compare back and forth. Do you hear that? It's way more subtle. That's why we started with the parallel compression. But with the reverb and the send level being set to -12, what I kind of hear is the reverb not being excited as much, especially in the low end with that kick drum. But on the drummer 2 parallel reverb channel, and because we're adjusting the fader level after Space Designer, I'm hearing more bottom end exciting the room. So that's the debate, right? Do you want your drum track to be exciting your room sounds at full blast? Or do you want to kind of dial it in, making sure that you're not overexciting your room or your delay? So for me, that's kind of the toss-up. When it comes to parallel compression channels or parallel pitch shifting channels or parallel lift channels, as you can see in my templates that I provide on my website, generally I like to adjust the faders for those specific auxiliary channels instead of adjusting the send levels. But when it comes to delays and reverbs, that's something I like to adjust on a send level basis and not with the fader on the auxiliary channel strip. So I hope that was helpful for you. If it was, as always, I highly suggest subscribing to the YouTube channel, Why Logic Pro Rules, or subscribing on the website itself, whylogicprorules.com. Every week I'm posting new videos, new emails, new posts to help you get the most you can out of Apple's Logic Pro 10. Thanks so much.